You can keep your camera on. If you want to just be a nameless face, you can shut it off. It doesn't matter. But we will post this recording to the South Fork Kings website so that other people can watch this and see this at their, at another time. So I'm Johnny Gailey, the manager of South Fork Kings. I am here with Amir Hussein from Geosyntec. He's the engineer that has been helping us with all of our work in getting our GSP prepared and figuring out all the calculations and things that we need to do. We have our team from MLJ Environmental who is doing our watermark. So we've got Roop Singh who is here, and we've got Tara Khan. So Roop is he's the I guess programmer engineer behind the scenes. Like he actually makes the website look like what it does and do what it does for good or for bad, hopefully for good. and Tara keeps everybody organized and on task and schedules these things and helps us all get our work done when we're supposed to. So we have any questions with that. So that's our team here. And I don't know if anybody else that's on the line wants to introduce themselves.
Julie Freitas,
All right.
farmer's wife, farmer.
Active member of our committee, our grower committee that we have for South Fork as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so is Kirk. Kirk's been very active in helping with the grower committee as well.
Right.
Yes.
So I'm Alex Young. I work for Westlands Water District, one of your neighboring GSAs.
All right. Nice to meet you, Alex. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and move on. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to start a presentation. We're going to start by just going through how groundwater usage is calculated. I'm going to forewarn you that an engineer prepared these slides. So they're a little bit technical, but we'll work through it. And then when we get into the actual Watermark website, we'll show you where you can see your more user-friendly data.
So let me start by just saying why we're doing all of what we're doing tonight or this afternoon. The idea, of course, is that if you're reporting in gears, you have a choice between using your pumping data from your meters, or you can use the evapotranspiration or what we call ET data. And we have that through a company called Land IQ. So sometimes during this process, you might hear us refer to Land IQ. That's the ET data that we're talking about today. But we get ET data and we upload it into our Watermark system. And if you have a Watermark account, which you hopefully all do, and if you don't, please contact Johnny. It's very easy to set up. Then what we're going to do is show you how to take that ET data and convert it to groundwater usage. And that's the information that you're going to upload into gears. One of the other things that Johnny's going to talk about here in a bit is, as we're going through this process, you're also going to hear us talk about how to take data from your wells that you've already uploaded into gears. Excuse me. See, now I'm confused. Into Watermark and export that data into gears. So we're trying to make it so that you don't have to duplicate everything. You've already uploaded a whole bunch of information into Watermark. We want to try to make it as easy as we can. There are some steps that you're going to have to do, but again, you may come back to watch this video and then take that and put it into the gears program. So uploading your well information and then converting that ET data into actual groundwater use. So John, if you want to go to the next step or the next slide, excuse me.
Yes. Click on that.
Yeah. So there's a term that we called farm demand you're just not to confuse anyone, but it essentially is the amount of water that the field uses. Depends on your cropping needs, your soil moisture, the methodology you use to irrigate. There's a wide variety of issues that go into it. It is not, and I think this is important, it is not your ET data. So if you go into to Watermark, you may be looking at your ET data, and your ET data there, that raw ET is not the same as your farm demand. I just want to be clear. So ET is a component of farm demand, but so is precipitation and your irrigation efficiency, and of course the field acreage and things of that nature. We then take that as we calculate our farm demand. We then are going to subtract out your surface water that you apply to your fields, and then after that, we're going to convert that into actual groundwater use. So we're assuming that the crops use your surface water and then made up whatever the additional requirements are from groundwater. And for some reason, if that's not the case, then come get a hold of Johnny and let's have that conversation for if you have a unique situation. Next slide. Okay, so the ET data, it really is the release of that water vapor from the plant. We're using satellite imagery to calculate that. We're taking a look at that satellite imagery. They get the raw satellite imagery. They then process that data with both field data that's scattered throughout the GSA, and so there's some ground truthing to it, and then they also do some other processing to that, and they put this through an algorithm, come back with values. And again, as you're looking at your raw ET data in Watermark, keep in mind that that's reported in inches. And the first thing we do is convert that to acre feet for you. So Land IQ reports in inches, but we convert that to acre feet to make your life easy and use a common set of units. So by the time it gets into Watermark, we wanted to have it in acre feet so you can compare apples to apples. On the screen, it talks a little bit about how we actually multiply by and do that. One of the issues that always comes up in this conversion is what do we use for the field acreage for the parcel versus the actual field, and some of that is being taken care of behind the scenes in Watermark. Johnny, I don't know if you want to add anything on that particular topic.
Yeah, I'll just say that the satellite data is picking up every bit of water that evaporates from your field. So it doesn't matter whether it's actually coming off the ground or whether it's coming off of a puddle or whether it's coming through the plant and off, through the transpiration of the plant. So you've got evapo and transpiration. So you've got the evaporation, transpiration, two different portions that make that up. And that's why it was important for us to go into Watermark and make sure that you're not getting charged for your rain, because the plant will pick up that rain and it either evaporates or it goes into the ground or into the leaves and then goes back through the plant. So we wanted to make sure that we were giving you the right amount of data so that you're not getting overcharged based on ET data. And so we've got that pulled in there.
And it did. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say it doesn't differentiate between crops and weeds on a fallow piece of land. So keep that in mind. If you have a piece of land that has been fallow for this time period that we're talking about, and you may still see some ET data on there, but that just, you need to then address that with the state board and GEARS as well to make sure it's clear that was the state board just this week voted to pass a new resolution that exempted anyone who pumped less than 20 acre feet. So for some reason, if your calculations come back under 20 acre feet, then you will be exempt from having to pay fees.
Once we're done with this slideshow, we'll go through the state board, we'll look at the website a little bit and some of the screens that pop up so we can show people where to get through it, where to get the information. So
Perfect.
I'm gonna go move on here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we talked about the fact that the different parameters, we talked about field acreage and how land IQ measures at the field level, not the parcel.
Actually, let me expand on that a little bit just because the GSA is managing everything at the parcel level and land IQ is reading fields at the field level. And obviously you have fields that cross parcels, you have parcels that cross fields. It's not all perfect. So what land IQ does for us is they actually take the field acres and they divide it up per parcel. And then if you have, let's say, a field and it's sitting across two parcels and a portion of it, 40% of it's in one parcel, they'll take 40% of that field acres and assign it to that parcel. And then they'll take 60% of it and assign it to the second parcel. So they'll prorate that. And so your water usage, when you look at it on each parcel, will be prorated based on that, the land IQ field acres. So when we're giving you your numbers, it's not necessarily what the evapotranspiration is across your entire APN. It's just the acres that are covered by a field.
Right.
Or if there's multiple fields on an APN, it'll pick up both of those fields. So we've been working with Watermark to make sure that we get that data accurate. You'll still see a warning in Watermark saying that we're working on the data and that will stay there until we're 100% confident that we're not making any errors in calculations. So when you go into Watermark and look at your water usage data, you will see a warning on the top of the screen pop up saying that it's still preliminary data.
So we also take that into account when we're giving you precipitation. The precipitation is also done at the field level so that there's a one-to-one correlation from ET and precipitation. We do measure precipitation. We use Land IQ, who measures precipitation both locally as well as with the regional data as well. And then the last thing that on the screen there is the irrigation efficiency. That's the ratio of the crop, the water used by the crop versus the applied water. So we all know that you may pump a certain amount of water, not all of it is 100% used by the crop. There are some losses. So based on that, and it depends on your irrigation methods and everything else. It depends on your crop type. There's a lot of variables in that. We have to keep it fairly simple. What we decided to do is we used a value of 0.85, so 85% essentially, and we're saying that then we use that across the GSA, and we had to simplify it because we don't have all of the different parameters for your individual fields. If you, for some reason, if you feel that your irrigation efficiency is different than that value, then we'll show you later how you can go in and individually change that. But the value you're going to get out of the work that Rup and others are doing will be based on an irrigation efficiency of 0.85. And that's consistent across the entire GSA. All right, next slide. I'm going to essentially give you the short version of this. This is a whole fancy page of nice formulas and everything that makes engineers very happy. But I'm going to give you the simple version. In order to calculate your farm demand, or what we call your net ET, we essentially take the raw ET value in acre feet, of course. We subtract out your precipitation, okay? We then subtract out your surface water use, and then all of this is all in acre feet, and then we divide that by your irrigation efficiency. And we basically say, okay, here's the raw ET, that's the total amount of ET, subtract out water, like Johnny said, all these different water sources that came in, and that would add to the ET, subtract out all the precip, subtract out the surface water, and then divide by the irrigation efficiency, and that gives us the amount of groundwater actually used. So that's all of this that's a simple way of saying everything that's on this slide. Next slide. Oh, that's it. That's it for me. So I'm going to turn it back over to Johnny, and then I'll be here to answer any questions.
All right, I am gonna go, didn't mean to pull that up like that, but I will. Give me just a second here. I'm gonna pull up a. See if that shows up. I'm gonna just. So I'm gonna move. I'm just gonna pull this up. So this is an example of the letters that went out for the state board. These were sent via certified mail.
Okay.
So this is, I'm sure all of you have seen something that looks like this. This correspondence ID that's all just number signs here in the top, that's the number that you have to be able to even do anything on the Gears website. So even if you're if you've got this letter and you end up falling under that exemption that they did for the 20 acre feet or less, you still need to go onto the Gears website, enter the correspondence ID, and then a question will pop up while you're whether or not you qualify for any of the exemptions. And if you check the box that you qualify for the exemption, they will actually remove your correspondence ID and take you off their mailing list for now.
That would be lovely.
Yeah. Of course, you do have to click on a box, check a box that say you are doing it under penalty of perjury and subject to, all the legalese. So let me see. And I think this whole thing, I'm scrolling down. Okay, then yeah, down at the very bottom of the page, it shows it'll have the APNs that it thinks that you own. And the APN lists have been off. People without wells got letters. People with wells didn't get letters. I mean, their outreach on this is, I mean, they're having the exact same challenges that we did as a GSA trying to get people to sign up for Watermark in the beginning. But they're trying to compress this into a 3-week window. And they're doing workshops next week, 2 weeks before this is due, and then the day before it's due.
Right.
So it's a little bit rough. So they're going to see a lot of the challenges that we've been seeing for the last year in a very compressed time frame. So I wanted to show you guys that, and then I was just going to click onto the Gears website. So you can see what it looks like. This, I don't know, is my screen share showing this window with this big orange box on it?
Yes.
That big orange box pops up on every single screen that you open up on their website. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You have to first get that out of your way so you can see what's going on. So when you start on the Gears and you enter your name here and you enter your correspondence ID, and then it gives you the spaces for all the numbers and the letters. The format is down here in this red piece. When you click next, it'll ask you a series of questions. I don't have a new correspondence ID to enter in here, so I can't really show you how it works. But I did create a GSA Gears account, so I will log into the GSA Gears account just to see. And as you can see, every time I click, here comes my orange screen. But there's all these different options. These are the exact same options that you guys will have on yours, other than manage extractors, because I can actually link. If people wanted to have the GSA help them with their account, I can link somebody's account to the GSA's account. But we can do bulk well upload. We can do extraction reports. We can do the different things that you have to do for that. So I just wanted to give you guys kind of a preview of this. I'm not going to go too deep into the Gears. We'll let the state board staff do that for you next week and at their workshops. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen. I think. Maybe not. Just like that. Okay. Roop, did you want to go ahead and pull up the Watermark accounts? Roop, I think, has set up some test accounts where we can see some data and walk you through. Let's go ahead and start with the wells.
Yep, I can start there.
So I've asked Roop to create an ability to take a export, and they call it a CSV file. It's just a comma separated values file. It's a type of Excel file where it contains all of your well information so that you can actually bulk load all of that information into your Gears platform. And that way you don't have to go into Gears and click on every single well over again and re-enter all that information that you've already entered into Watermark.
Yep.
And
with that,
I'll let Roop take over from here.
okay, sounds good. So once you log into Watermark, you'll land on this dashboard page. And from here on, you'll see options to basically view water usage, which we'll go into at a later part of this conversation. And then you can also go to this parcels page, which is where Johnny's mentioning that portion where you can export out information. So underneath your account, so if you have a South Workings account, divvied up into different accounts, you can find all your different accounts under here. If you also have accounts in other GSAs, you'd be able to swap over to those. But I will show you the South Workings example. Once you see all of your parcels and wells underneath here, you'd see all the status information for those wells as well. If there's any sort of incomplete information, or if there's requests that you put to relocate the well or do anything related to changes on that well, it'll have like a pending approval status. So there's some status flags there for you. But if everything is complete on it, then you'll see that it won't have any flags. And then from there on, what you can do is click this export button. And like Johnny mentioned, this export basically gives you a comma separated value file, which will have the template that Gears accepts. And on this account, we have some incomplete records. So it will tell you if there is something that you haven't completed in Watermark. And for the complete accounts, you will see rows that are filled up with all the required fields that Gears requires in their template that you upload. Johnny, anything to add in terms of those specific fields and piece of info?
Yeah, I do want to add on inside of this file that you'll see at the top of the columns that they have. These first two are public water system. They don't pertain to most of our landowners here. The other one is an ID from I forget what it was, but it's a specific well ID that I don't think anybody would have that ID. The purpose of use, they're only allowing agriculture, which has to be in the format of AGR and municipal, since most of our landowners would have agricultural, very few municipals. Gears is not set up to take the domestic wells through the bulk upload process. So the workaround for this is just to label everything as agricultural, and then after you upload the well, you can go in and change the type on the domestics. So that would be something. And I'm sorry that we don't have like everything perfected, but we've had to try to make this work since we had the Gears workshops with the state last week, is when we first actually got access to what we needed to do. And since then we've got MLJ and Roop and Tara to like meet with us several times and start implementing this to try to make it work. So it's not quite an Apple product, but it'll get the job done, and we'll be here to help you.
Is it a Palm Pilot?
Yeah, it's that.
Johnny,
Yeah, I think we're.
Johnny, can I ask a question, or are you going to have time for questions following this?
Go ahead and ask questions. I'm
Okay.
happy to take questions.
If you have users that set up in Gears previously in the state's first attempt to get this done back in 24, I believe it was, and and then you try to upload the watermark information in that template as you just presented, if they don't jive, if you have wells that are represented in one and not in the other, I mean, how is it going to represent itself in gears?
I'm gonna actually take a little bit of a stab at a guess right here, but I
Okay.
think what it will do is it will create new wells almost nearly on top of your old wells.
Okay.
And you'll have to go through and delete the duplicates before you finalize your gears, because you definitely don't want to report
Yeah.
more wells than
Yeah. Yes.
than what you have, because every one is a $300 bill.
Got it.
Kirk, you may be better off if you've already entered data into gears. You may be better off just finalizing your gears entries manually and not trying to do the CVS or the watermark upload. Frankly, it might be, depending on how far along you are, it might be easier to do that.
Well, I think in my case, there's probably a lack of continuity in terms of how I named each well and referenced each well in each program, and they're not going to jive as a result. So, I think for most of us, we want to make sure that whatever we're representing in Watermark is also represented equally in gears, just for cross-referencing sake.
So my suggestion would be to go into your gears account and delete your existing wells and then bulk upload the entire group out of Watermark.
Very good. That's a great suggestion.
And then so we're going to look at that. So purpose of use, we're going to have that is de minimis. That's whether if it's a de minimis well, that would be true. So that's going to tell you whether or not it's under 2 acre feet or over 2 acre feet. Well status. This is where I might go in and do some manual editing to this file before you upload it. I'm not sure I would register inactive wells with Watermark. So if your well status is inactive, or with gears, excuse me, if you have wells in this file that say inactive in the column, I think I would just highlight that row and delete it entirely. They say that they're not going to be billing people for inactive wells, but I'm not sure that I would trust that to be the case without causing other issues. So, one thing that we did not have people, we did not enforce in Watermark that they are requiring to do the bulk upload at the state level is this column here, L, that's max production. And it's basically they want to know gallons per minute on your wells. I don't know why that's important to them, because I think everybody's kind of taking a guess, and your well gallons per minute changes dramatically from season to season, depending on where water levels are and the condition of your pump, and there's all kinds of factors to that. But if you don't have a value in that column, it won't allow it to upload. So if you end up with blanks in the column, you'll need to go in and just put in production for each well. And the guidance documents say that you need to do this to the best of your knowledge and ability. So to me, that means take your best guess.
Yep.
Let's see. Yeah, go ahead, and I'll let Roop keep going.
Perfect. So then I'll move into this water use portion of the Watermark portal. So on here, like Amir and Donnie have mentioned before, this is where you can come in to see your ET information. And as mentioned before, we have this disclaimer at the top to kind of just let you know that we do plan on reviewing some of these values as we're working through the data. So please look at everything closely. But you are able to, similar to how you'd be able to do in the parcel page, you are able to switch between accounts. And then within those accounts, the parcels you have claimed, you can switch to individual parcels. or you can view all parcel data at once, which means your ET information will be consolidated for your entire account. So all the parcels underneath one account will have one ET value displayed on here. But if you want to see the individual ET values for every single parcel, and the crop reported from LandIQ, then you can filter for that for every single parcel and see what kind of acreage and primary crop have been reported for that individual parcel. And as you can see in my example, again, this is just test data. So this specific parcel has 7.58 LandIQ acres reported for the latest month that we have. And then you can press this view history button here at the bottom to see all of the values reported for the year. So in some cases, if there's changes of acreage or cropping practices change or crop changes in the middle of the year, then you should be able to see that history in here as well. And then beyond that, we've added a portion down below where you can see the breakdown of how your water usage or estimated groundwater usage is calculated. So as mentioned before, LandIQ ET gives us a specific amount based on the map Johnny was showing earlier. And then from there on, you'll see your precip amount that will be deducted from the ET that's reported. And then you can add surface water for individual months on individual parcels as well, or combination of parcels. So since we were doing this on a shorter timeline, like Donnie mentioned, what we've gone in with is basically you can report surface water for the entire account, and we will work on divvying it up into all of your parcels based on the LandIQ acreage that's reported on them. So for this example, if I were to report surface water for my account on this page, again, I can switch between different water years, my different accounts that I have, and go to different months of the year. So for reporting purposes, since we're working primarily in water year 2024, you can come in here and enter those amounts for those individual months. And then from there on, these amounts will be divvied out into all of your parcels based on your LandIQ acreage. Any questions? Because I know I went through a little bit of info there.
I have a question. I
Mhm.
think it pertains to this. So we have wells that go into a pond, and then that water goes through the filter station and it gets sent out to all around our APN parcels. So how do we deliver the water that's going to the specific orchards? There's like 5. So do we take the total of the acreage and then the water that was used and divide it per acre?
So for this, Julie, we've decided to have people enter all of their surface water on here for
Okay.
all of every field they have for everything for their entire account.
Okay.
So if you've got, 5 fields in your water account and you've got 2 different turnouts from your canal company that you've got reporting from, you would total that up for each month. And on here, like if we're looking at the 24 water year, we only need to report for July, August, and September because the years doesn't care what happened before July. So you don't have to put the rest of those in there for this particular year. When we get into the 25 water year, you need to report for the entire year. So then you would report, let's say you had 2 turnouts that covered all of your property that's in the account. You would add the turnout deliveries from the canal company together for those 2 turnouts, and you would put the total in each box for each month.
Okay.
And then-
I may be calling you.
So once Roop hits submit on this, like he's just put 2 numbers in there for October and November.
Okay.
And
Okay.
eventually it'll go to the right screen.
It'll let you know that delivery has been submitted, and then
Okay.
it will auto redirect you back to your water usage page that we were on. One more second to go to the right water here. But we were in 2025.
Yeah, you were 25.
Right. So you will see that amount in here plugged in.
Okay.
So now instead of that button there to click enter surface water, the number is there, and you can still click on it to get back to that screen to change it.
Okay.
But and that's why it's that greenish blue color.
And for any of the months you haven't entered an amount, it will have the button available.
Okay.
But Julie, is what you were talking about pumping out of a well into a pond and then through a filter station.
Yeah.
Land IQ will pick up what comes off of your trees. So it's going to pick up that evapotranspiration after it ends up on your field, unless the pond is drawn into your field, which I haven't seen any cases of that happen. Usually unless they're very, very small and somehow end up like covered by tree canopy to where it looks like it's part of a field. Usually any kind of pond or driveways or things like that are left out of the mapping for the field.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yep. And then the last piece there is you can export this information out in a couple different formats. So you can get a summary PDF of this. So if you need to print it out or anything like that, then you can use the PDF option. But there is an option to get a comma separated value file, an Excel sheet of this data set as well. Which then you can kind of use to do your own calculations on if you need to. So as shown here, we've calculated the estimated groundwater usage based on this irrigation efficiency factor of 85%. But if you want to apply a different amount, you can export it out for yourself and update that before you submit anything to Gears. So we've provided that flexibility for you to do your own calculation as well.
That's nice. That's really nice.
So just
We show what that export looks like. So within that export, you'll see the land IQ acres for your account, and then the monthly reported acre feet value. And then here's our, you can see acre feet per acre amounts for each of the months as well. And then your estimated groundwater usage for that month based on precip and surface water amounts. You can see those values here. And again, this is with the irrigation efficiency factor of 85%. So if you want to apply a different factor, you can apply that to this amount or precip and combination of precip and monthly acre feet.
Okay.
Let's go through this really quick, Roop. Just kind of let's go through column by column so we kind of know people know what they're dealing with. So obviously we've got the month and the year are pretty self-explanatory. The assessed acres that will be the total of all of the fields if you're doing the summary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and on this test account, I didn't have the assessed acre set up, so this is empty, but for your account, you will see an assessed acre amount if we do have that from the county. So the assessed acre comes from the county, and then the land IQ acreage for the month is what land IQ has reported for that month and what the ET or acre feet value is based off of. So you will see the land IQ acreage here, and on the next column, you'll see the monthly acre feet amount, which is, again, if we're comparing it to what you saw here, this would be this number right here that land IQ has reported. And then based on how much acreage it was on, you'll see an acre feet per acre amount as well. And then from there on, you'll see the cumulative amounts as you go through the water year. To clarify, this cumulative amount is based on the water year itself in this Excel sheet because we are looking at it on a water year to water year level. But if you're working with a different time range for years purposes, so let's say you're working on July 2024 through September 25 data, your cumulative value could potentially be different because that should include other months that we're not including in this sheet because this is exported out on a water year level. And then the same thing for acre feet per acre. That's also your cumulative divided by your land IQ acreage. And then you will see your precip value as well in here. So as you can see, all the acre feet values are shown on here. And like Amir was explaining earlier, we get a millimeter amount from land IQ, and then we convert it into acre feet based on a constant factor, as well as your land IQ acres. So this land IQ acre amount is really like the critical component in all of this. So make sure when you're looking at the data, this looks accurate and represents what you're actually farming on. And then from here on, you'll see the surface water acre feet amount, and these are the manual inputs that you would have done on your account. And these are basically shown right now on the entire account level. So if you reported 10 acre feet or 100 acre feet, it'll show that in here. And then from there on, consumptive use is basically the same thing as estimated groundwater usage, but it's your amount that's there before you've applied the 85% irrigation efficiency. So if we look at certain months in here, you will see your net ET amount that's shown on there. That's based on subtraction between all of these different factors like ET, precip, and surface water. And if those values are negative, it goes to zero. So it's not going to give you a negative value for your net ET or consumptive use. But if it does go to zero, you will still be able to see the details of that in the Excel sheet. And feel free to stop me if anything needs more explaining or we need to go into more details for anything. Okay. And then this estimated groundwater usage is the most critical number that we've kind of calculated based on the irrigation efficiency factor of 85%. So for every single month, you will see an amount that's calculated. And it's, again, based on a formula of 85% irrigation efficiency. So if you have more irrigation efficiency that you want to put in, you will add whatever that factor is to this formula, and it would be this number divided by whatever percentage you want to apply of irrigation efficiency. And then from there on, it's again acre foot per acre amount as well that you can see if it's helpful, and then the cumulative amount for the year as well as you go along. And again, this is based on your water year. So you can see those amounts in here as well, and cumulative amount in the acre feet per acre as well. So basically it's breaking down the data into a couple different column types, but the most critical ones to look at are basically this is estimated groundwater usage in acre feet and then your consumptive use before the irrigation efficiency is applied on there. Any questions, or Johnny, Amir, you have anything to add?
Yeah, I was just going to add, just to be clear for everybody, this is an output file, and unlike the file that Johnny and Roop talked about earlier, that the file that came out with the information on the wells, you can upload that well information directly into Gears. but this data file does not translate and does not upload directly into Gear. So you will have to manually update the column, the values in column L that Rup has highlighted, and those are the values that you're going to manually input for your groundwater usage. So just to be clear, the difference between these two export files. And one last thing, this is an export file only. If you make a change in this file for some reason, it doesn't recalculate. It doesn't do. It's strictly a series of numbers. It's not formulas. So you'll need to make sure that if you want to change something, that you've adjusted that back in. For example, if your surface water values are a little bit off, you meant to type in 100 and you actually only typed in 10, you're going to want to go back into Watermark and make that change. And Rup, correct me if I get any of this wrong.
No, you're spot on. Surface water is an amount that you get to control. Precip and your other land IQ ET amount is something that's coming from land IQ. So those will be the values you won't be able to change in Watermark, but you can change your surface water acre feet amount, and that will then allow you to export another version of this file that, like Amir mentioned, it's an output of numbers. It's not formula. So feel free to utilize the data in there, but if you change anything, it's not going to auto-populate the other amounts for you.
Okay.
I know this is a lot for everybody, but
Mhm.
we are here. We're trying to make this as straightforward as we can, but we are working under the constraints of the gear system as well.
Right. I will say it's a pretty cool setup, even though I don't want to do it. But it is a pretty cool setup. I'm impressed.
So yeah, I just want to make we're gonna spit out this data, and when you're in Gears, you're gonna have options of choosing to report by meter or choosing to report by land IQ.
Mhm.
If you choose to report by meter on any well on a parcel, you will have to report by meter on every well on that parcel. They won't let you choose. They won't let you put meter data in for one well and then use land IQ for the rest of the parcel. So you have to be all one or all the other method. So,
Okay.
Rup, do we have the ability to export this data for each parcel individually?
Yes, you can. And let me actually give that a go on the fly. It's never a good idea to try to do things like that in a live demo, but I will give it a go. Just to show an example of it. And again, most of that is because we have most of this data just as a test data system. We don't actually have live values. But I can show the difference if you were to import it on or export it on a parcel level, which we're just going to do it for this parcel. So we'll see what the export looks like. Yes, so there you go. So your actual surface water amounts and everything else, you'll see they got scaled down based on how it got divvied up into individual parcels. So for this APN now, you'll see your consumptive use and estimated groundwater usage looks very, very different from what we initially had. Side by side. So this is the parcel level, and then this is for your entire account. Johnny, does that answer your question?
Yep, that does. I'm going to show everyone real quick on Gears what this looks like when you're filing extraction reports. So I'm going to share my screen. I think I've bypassed the parts that actually show people's individual information, but once I click file extraction report, it takes me to a thing to say for the account, and then this comes up. So you can file this by per well, or you can file it using evapotranspiration. So the information that we're getting out of the Watermark platform will be evapotranspiration. So once I click on this, and there's my orange pop-up screen again, and it wants me to it asks me what water year. So we have 2 water years. You have to report for both years in one shot. So July, August, September of 24, and it's only half of July, and then October through September of 25. So once we click on this, it wants me to select a parcel, and then it'll ask me to hit next. Then it wants to know what the data source is. In our case, you're going to select Land IQ because our Watermark data is Land IQ data.
Okay.
It's going to ask irrigation efficiency for the parcel. That's not a required field, but if you want to put it down there, we are using 85% if you're using the default numbers that we're spitting out. If you change it, you'll have to use whatever you did, but it's not actually a required field, so you can leave it blank. And then annual volume of surface water applied in acre feet. So you can put a number in here, but none of these numbers really tie together. There's no calculations done in the Gears website. So whatever you enter in the field is what they end up with. So if your annual volume here doesn't match with these 3 months, it's not going to give you an error or anything. It's just going to turn it in that way. So for the parcels that I selected, and I only selected one parcel on this one, you can select all of your parcels at one time, I believe, and enter this as a whole group. But you would just enter, your data for each parcel based on the output from the Watermark, and then you click next, and it'll ask you to. I just can't get that little orange screen to go away. Once you click next on this takes a very long time on Gears. Like several minutes.
Wow. Good to know.
So I actually canceled. I went back. I refreshed the page. I did a bunch of things completely wrong before I realized I just had to sit here and wait. There it goes. Little faster this time. So it'll basically it'll give you information here, and you can go down to the bottom, and then you can submit your report. It'll give you the total of what it is. I'm not going to submit the report because I'm basically playing with somebody else's account that I don't want to turn it in for. So I'm going to delete that when I'm done. But I wanted you guys to at least get a chance to see what it looked like.
Okay. So
Well,
then if
Go ahead.
we did all of our APMs at the same time, we would just get the whole total, or actually it would be the 3 months divided up and then submit that.
Yeah, you can do all your parcels at once together, and you can export that report, but you still need to enter it in per month. The monthly reporting is
Right.
what is the number that they're looking for.
Okay.
And for the if you need to upload your wells after you enter them into Watermark, this is the link that you would click on, bulk well -POU upload.
Okay.
So you would click on that, and then you would get this orange screen again that gets in your way. And then you would click on choose file, and then it can open, a file on your computer that you could pick, and you could choose your whichever one is your CSV file, and then you would upload that.
Okay, so to do that, you have to use that certain file, not the PDF.
To do a bulk well upload
Mhm.
from your it's the well list under the parcels. If you export that, you have to use the CSV file. That's the only file. That's the only file type that it accepts, and it has to be exactly in the format that is produced. Because if you change the format, it will reject it.
Okay.
And I'm sure this is obviously, I mean, we're going live with this like way sooner than we should. We would normally do a bunch of testing and try to figure it out and try to avoid problems.
Yeah.
But we're trying to make this work as fast as we can. So just let us know when you have issues, and we'll forward it on to Rup and Tara and try to work out the issues and walk you through them. I'd be very surprised if this goes, completely smooth for everybody on the first try. So,
Johnny, I'm assuming that the information, I'm not looking for the land IQ information in this case. I'm looking for the well and parcel listing. So I'm only looking to export those files related to the well and where they're located, I guess, on the parcel. That's not a problem, I assume.
yeah, but they're two completely different pages on the Watermark website. So if Rup you want to open up the Watermark website again, Rup, I'll stop sharing my screen.
So this is the water use page, or the water usage page is where we saw all the ET amounts. And this is where you can export your groundwater usage data. But the parcels page, which you'll see an option in the menu on the right side here, from like the fifth option down. That's the page where you will export that gear CSV that we were looking at earlier.
And of course, everything in Watermark can be modified to, right. If we want to change the name at this juncture, it's a good time to do it, I guess. And we can change all the variables in Watermark to represent how we want the wells represented, I guess, namesake wise, and then we can export that specific file.
Yes,
in my case, I'm using metered data by month, I mean, all this is going to be input off a spreadsheet virtually.
Yeah, slow down a little bit on this, Rup, while you go through it, just to make sure that people know where they're clicking and what it does. Once you hit the parcels, you need to go over under where it says My Parcels and Wells, and you need to click on the list that says Wells. So you have two different tabs there, and that will list all the wells that you have registered. Then you can slide over and you can actually manage these wells. You can go back in and change information about it by clicking on that little gear and then hitting Manage Well.
Okay.
Or if you have a well that was incorrectly placed, you can actually remove the well in that spot.
Oh, that's good.
Yes, and you can click these edit buttons next to whichever section you want to edit. And so you can edit locations, you can edit what you called the well, like you mentioned, Kirk. You can easily just click this edit button. It'll jump you to that section. And then you can just basically change the well name, save it, and then switch to other sections that you may want to complete or edit or do anything with. And then you can go back to the well details page again by clicking on this geared icon. And then also go back to the all wells where we're seeing all the different wells that you have. Makes it really easy to switch between all the different details within a specific well. And then back to my all wells page where you can see your wells on the map as well at the top. Just in case it's helpful to visually kind of get to where you need to go. But I'm hoping from your naming, you'd be able to identify which well you need to change the name for making edits to.
What's going to be interesting is that Gears is giving you this this ID, and it's identified by, I guess, the APN ownership information. But yet there's an entity. In my case, I have an entity that leases ground at this particular ranch, and so there's actually three letters 3 corresponding IDs that I'm going to have to utilize to reference these different parcels. But yet on Watermark, they're all referenced under one identifying entity, if I remember correctly. And so exporting that into, I guess, that's going to be do you see any difficulties in that scenario?
Oh, Kirk, you have the option to create 3 different accounts in years. If you would like to have 3 different accounts, but for each account that you create, you have to each account has to have its own email address. So you need to have 3 separate email addresses just to create 3 different gears accounts. So if you have 3 different entities, you could create 3 separate accounts.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of people have various ranches, and I use the same business email account for all these separate. And so you're
Yes,
going to have to create something you're not used to using, but
you can do that if there's a value to keeping them separate. I'm not sure
if there is, yeah.
There is. I mean, there might be if you're close to that.
There's probably not in this case. But,
well, there might be because there is a 500 acre foot threshold that requires you to meter all of your wells. So if you can stay under that 500 acre foot threshold, that might be a reason to separate.
Yes.
Or even if one of them happens to fall under the 20 acre foot threshold, you might be able to eliminate it entirely by keeping that one separate. So there could be some value to that, just depending on the conditions.
Okay.
In Watermark, you are also under one user ID. You can have multiple Watermark accounts if you want to have separate ranches. So if you look at Roop's accounts, he's got all these accounts that are listed here under my accounts are different accounts under his login ID that he's created. And anybody can do that. You can create a new Watermark account and add parcels to it and keep that all separate if you want to manage it as a separate thing. I'm not sure what the process would be. I'd have to ask Roop and Tara. That'd be a question for them. If you wanted to transfer, let's say you've already registered all your wells, but you want to transfer a chunk of them into a different account to separate that, is that a complicated process?
Shouldn't be, as long as we have all the info available to say what account names you would want and which parcel you would want under those accounts. We can divvy it out to those accounts and which wells need to go with those parcels.
So if we got a list of wells,
in the back end for you.
So we could send you the list of wells from an account and say we want to take these 4 wells and move them to a different sub account under that login. Okay.
Yep.
That would be nice. It's not something that the user could really do easily on their end.
We currently don't allow for that, and that's primarily just because moving between different accounts, we allow people to have like different accounts per GSA. So sometimes people may try to move parcels to a non-GSA accounts, and then it gets confusing on who approves it, which GSA. So we're figuring out some of those intricate details before we allow users to do it. So right now it's more of an admin action or a backend procedure.
No, that's perfect. I figured Kirk brought up having the different numbers and different accounts, and I think we'll probably get more requests or questions at least about being able to keep things separate if that ends up being the route that they want to go. So does anybody have any other questions about this whole process? I know without actually sitting down at your computer at your own account and going through it, that's usually when the questions really start popping up. But if you have anything right now, it'd be great.
Yes, I do. So can you show me on Watermark on your APN map how to add your well?
Yes.
Thank you.
1 second while this loads up.
It's okay.
So once you've gone in and claimed your parcel. And again, parcel claiming process is something you may have already done. So once you've gone and put in the verification code to register your parcel, you will see your parcel highlighted in blue.
Yes.
And all these dots are your existing wells if you've already added any wells. If you have not added wells, you will not see these dots. You will only see this blue section wherever your parcel boundaries are. And now on the map itself, you can basically zoom in and click on a specific location where your well might be. And as soon as you click on that location, it's going to give you two options. You can either manage details of that parcel, which allows you to just view the sort of the boundary and what's on that parcel with GSA, which county, etc. Or you can register the well on that property. So once you click on that register well option, it'll tell you that this is the lat long you clicked on. And then from there on, you'll also see the APN number that you're plotting that well on, and you'll be able to click this register well option, and it'll walk you through the process of putting in all of the information related to that well. So it starts off by, again, confirming the well location with you. At this point, if you want to adjust the location, you can. But if everything looks good and it's at the location that you want it, then you can just move to the next step. And here's where you can put in your well name. It's going to be market number 2. And then this is where your correspondence ID from Gears can go. Here's a brief explanation of what that is. I think we saw a letter from Donnie earlier that showed that correspondence ID. So you can enter that here and then put in your notes, move on to the next step. And at any of these steps, if we have any information that's required for recording for watermark purposes or for Gears, if there's anything that's required, we will tell you at that step, and it'll basically stop you at that point and let you know that you need to put this information in. But you can kind of move through the information that's available to you at your own pace, come back to it at any time as well. So purpose of use, EWS, I'm just marking random answers to this, but there's basically a step-by-step process that will ask you all of these specific questions about your well.
Okay.
And then there's some indications.
So do you actually click where the well is? Or
Yes.
just...
Yes.
Okay. That's what we'll do. That's what I figured, but I wanted to ask. Okay.
Valid question.
Very valid. And then the last piece of it is you can also indicate which parcels this well irrigates. For Gears purposes, that's helpful information to have. We can just move through that. And then if you want to report any extraction volumes, you can put that information here too. And then submit, and you'll see a summary page of all your information that you just inputted.
Okay. I got another question. So let's say majority of our wells are on 1 APN. But those wells, the well water goes to all of our APNs. So do I click on all of the APNs that we have?
No,
Yeah,
you just need to register the well once, right? It's still
Correct.
one well.
Multiple.
On
Group,
this
if you
page,
click on parcels, yeah.
on this
yeah,
one,
you would,
yes.
you would click all your APNs where the water goes.
Yes, on this page.
Okay. So then that would be all of our APNs.
It could be all of them if everything's pipelined together and the water's going everywhere,
It is.
Yep.
Yeah.
which is very
Okay.
common.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
But
Sorry,
once you do that, you can save it, I think, as a parcel group, and then when you do the next well, you can actually just select a parcel group. Is that correct, group?
Yes, exactly.
So you can name the parcel group and say all parcels once you select them all and do it once, and then the next time you enter the group, you would just click your all parcels parcel
Gotcha.
group, and you wouldn't have to go through and click every one a second time.
Okay, that makes sense.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, did you ever decide what's going to happen when you have water coming from one GSA and it goes to another GSA? We're involved in 3, but 2 of them, like some of the water from one GSA district will go to the other. We irrigate down the road to another place with this water here. Have you guys ever decided how that's going to work?
We do have a policy for water that leaves South Fork Kings, and it requires you to apply to South Fork for an export. It has to stay within 1 mile of the boundary, according to our current policy. And basically, you have to be in compliance with both GSA's policies.
Okay. So
we
1
do-
mile, well, that works for us. And then, but we actually go the other way. We're actually going into South Fork from.
Don't tell anybody and just bring all the water in. Just kidding.
Okay. So.
No, that's it's the policy if you're in Mid Kings River coming to South Fork, or if you're North Fork Kings coming across the river, but whatever the situation is, wherever the well is, that's really going to be the agency that regulates the policy.
Okay.
But we're working with our neighboring GSAs.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So Johnny, correct me if I'm wrong. So make sure I say this correctly. Be careful what you report, because if the pumping is physically occurring outside of South Fork and outside of the Tulare Lake subbasin.
Yeah, so if let's say you're in North Fork Kings and that water comes into South Fork Kings, you would not need to report that well, because the well is actually outside of the boundary of the subbasin. But if you're in Mid Kings River and you've got water across the street going into South Fork,
Yes.
that would be something you would report in gears.
We don't want you guys having to pay fees for pumping that's occurring outside of the Tulare Lake or the Tule subbasins. Those are the only 2 subbasins that are in probation. And if any pumping is occurring outside of those 2 subbasins, you would not be privy to those fees, and you would not have to pay fees on that pumping, even if you're moving the water into South Fork.
Right. All right. Any other questions for now?
Not now.
I'm sure more will come, and we'll probably schedule a follow-up Zoom like this where we can kind of go through issues and things that come up as we try to do this. Hopefully Rupa has done a perfect job and there won't be any errors and everything will work perfectly. But as with all software that's like brand new and we're building it as we go, there's bound to be some issues. So,
but we're definitely here to help. Like Johnny said, we'll be as responsive as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your work, Rup and Tara, and thank you guys for taking time out of your day to watch this.
Yeah. Sorry, I won't say anything. Us old folks.
Yeah. Well, Julie and Kirk have seen me pretty much all day.
All day, yeah.
We're BFFs.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
you,
you,
guys.
Have a wonderful
Have a good weekend.
Have a great weekend.